How are you girls?
Yes, we're all great. So the Yune and Ko. Win, please introduce yourself to our audience, and yeah, we can continue with your presentation as well.
Okay, yeah, so I'm Zendy. I'm the CEO and founder of Yune & Co. So Yune & Co is a company that acquires and build D2C brands for the Southeast Asian market. We have kind of like shifted our brand narratives since the beginning of this year, 16, but that's going to be part of the whole story later on. And we have kind of like shifted our business model quite a few times. So yeah, let me reconnect with my LT.
Yes.
Sorry about that. My connection's just poor. I just reconnect with something else. So okay, so should I start or? All right. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, so anyway, thanks for having me here. So as I mentioned, I think I started my career as I actually started my career in the internet business since 2008. So that was a long time ago. This was a time when Indonesia only had about 8 million internet users. So I was there early on. It was actually, we started off as a web development company that sort of kind of like evolved over the time. We grew quite big, and by 2012, we got acquired by WPP. If you guys are aware, these guys are, you know, the advertising giant of the world. They own Ogilvy and a whole bunch of different companies. So after I got acquired, I stuck around there until 2016. And after 2016, I moved to Singapore for a bit. And that's when I actually got the inspiration to start off Yune & Co. So I started Yune & Co in a very interesting way, in that I was actually in Clarke Quay. I was working in one of the coffee shop, and I saw a bunch of ladies. They kind of like entered the shop, and they all dressed very well. And I thought to myself, like, how much time do they waste every morning just to find the right fit and products for them to wear? And that was like the initial aha moment. And because personally, if you ask me about fashion, I'm not exactly the most passionate person during that time. I didn't understand fashion. I was a very how to say, a very practical person, right? This is what I wear most of the days. It's just very practical. But at the time when I was in Singapore, I also had to handle a lot of different, bank as clients. I was handling, some of the biggest banks like Standard Chartered Bank, EOB, OCBC, and a lot of those guys. And I needed to appear well, right? So the thought was like, hey, what if there is a personal stylist for everybody, made available for everybody, right? So that was the initial aha moment. And that was like October 2016. And by December, I left my previous job and I came back to Jakarta to basically start off this company. So again, I was a very product guy, and the first thing that we launched, it was actually at the end of 2017. We were actually one of the first few fashion chatbot in the world during that time, where we actually not only selling products, but we actually had a recommendation engine embedded into the chatbot to give a recommendation to our customers based on their preferences, their body size, fitting, and all that. So we were pretty early on at the time. It was December 2017, and by March 2018, the harsh learning was that people don't care about chatbots at all. So we figured out, this customers don't really need Jarvis. They don't need Jarvis from Iron Man. What they need is actually having an Alfred, an actual human, to help them find the right fit, help them find the right products. So we quickly shifted our business model quite a bit. By April or May, I think it was May, we started to kind of like sold this actual personal styling as a service kind of model, where we have like a whole bunch of personal stylists, and they'll be able to kind of like capture the customer's preferences and all of that, and we send them products, right? And we sort of like wrote on this model for quite a while, and we gather a whole bunch of customers information to get to their sizes and all that. It becomes we became very rich in data, and we garnered about 50,000 members by 2020, about 48,000, 50,000 members by 2020, and we were in the middle of fundraising actually at a time for our company, and then COVID happened. The whole concept of our personal stylist for customers just doesn't work anymore. I mean, who needs stylists? They need toilet papers and masks, right? More importantly than stylists. So I was in Taipei actually at the time. I was doing my fundraising, and then I came back to Indonesia, and I decided very quickly to shift the model again, and everything became like completely digital. All the styling is done digitally as well, and we went back to our core principles, which is customer first, and we started to kind of like analyze a lot of the data that we've been getting, and we try to understand, we try to get as much insight as we can from this data, understanding about what the customer wants. What is it that they really need during this point of time, and what would they need in the future? All right. So we went back to all the basic stuff. We forget about the technology side. We forget about everything else. We started to implementing a more manual customer service. We actually talk to our customers directly. With everything in regards to fulfillment got streamlined as well. And again, it's just going back to the very basis of every business, right? Which is basic operational excellence, and that's what we found to be working out very well. That helped us kind of like kept us afloat during the whole pandemic, and on 2021 we started to kind of like picked up quite a few different tractions from some of the products that we're working on, and we decided, what, we have so much value that we can bring to the brands that we're working with, and then we started to kind of like shift our whole narrative. We decided to, what if instead of just helping out the customers, which is something that we've been doing very well with, why don't now we also try to put whatever information that we have, whatever technology that we have, whatever insights and operational excellence that we might have to help the brands instead, right? So since since the middle of 2021, we started to talk to a bunch of brands. We have about 160 local fashion brands, Indonesian, within our system. So we've been talking to them, and we found out about some of the biggest pain points that they find in regards to supply chain, about network, about finance, about what was the other one? I can't remember. But yeah, so we try to kind of help them in that way. So we started to kind of like, right now we have actually 5 brands actually now under our management, where we basically finance the whole production, we finance the whole supply chain as well, and at the same time we also put all our operational capacity to help them grow the business. But the way we want to kind of like acquire and also kind of like build products is very much value driven, in a way. We don't want to invest in fast moving fashion where we find that it's just about the cheapest product with the lowest quality that's just going to ruin the environment even worse. So we don't want to invest in those kind of products. Instead, we invest in products that has actual problem solving kind of a value for our customers. There is one product that we're launching next month, which is basically a knitwear, and it's completely sustainable. The target is actually for families, for women and men above 35 years old. And the whole concept is actually going to be very interesting because once you actually buy this is yours forever. Even if you break it, you can actually send it back to us and we'll fix it for free. So it's something that we want you to be able to kind of like buy and actually pass on to your daughter or your son one day. So so that's the kind of products and projects that we are looking into, and we are going to invest our time, our effort. We want to shift this whole hustling mentality where it's about the fastest growth that they can get, instead of building something very sustainable, something that is very much value added, not just for the founders that we're working with, but also for the customers and also for the environment that we're all living in. So that's what been keeping me busy, but yeah, I think potentially moving forward, it's going to be very interesting where when we could actually start opening up the projects that we are having a lot of interest in, and start to kind of like open up this opportunity for co-investment, and I think that's where this whole digitalization from, tokenization and all that, it's going to take a lot of, it's going to be a huge opportunity for everybody. So yeah, I think that's everything that I can share right now.
Well, thank you so much, Win. That's an interesting story. And again, did you do a research of anyone else doing similar things to you guys, or it's a completely new on the Indonesian market?
There are quite a few, and I think there are quite a lot of people doing similar stuff in regards to acquisition. It's such a huge thing in the US, where a lot of companies are acquiring like Amazon FBA brands and try to kind of like consolidate the whole thing. I think our value proposition is a bit different. It's not just about fattening up our balance sheet, but it's really about building actual products, that's going to be very valuable for people. And we're going to focus on profitability a lot more than GMV and all those stuff that startup people kind of like to talk about. So it's really, we're trying to build a really valuable company more than anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I'm also curious, who are your customers mostly? Yes, you mentioned the brands, that you're switching to brands from customers, but also who are your customers, men and women, what their age, or what's your target group was in the beginning, and what's the price point of your services as well?
Right. Yeah. Actually, our customer segment, we're only servicing women for the longest time. So we have our primary customers are within the age of 25 to 40 years old. They're our most loyal customers. They know the value of styling. Again, we never promise selling the cheapest price in the market, but we want to make sure when you buy from us, you get the best customer service, you get the best kind of advices from our stylist. So the average basket size that we get is actually relatively high compared to the other fashion player in Asia. I think it's about $56 US dollars. So it's around there. That's between the age of 25 to 35 years old. But we also have a secondary market, which is younger, much younger, between the age of 16 all the way to 25. And this customer segments actually kind of like grew because we've been focusing in a lot of content creation over the past 2 years now. We have our own media team, which is creating a lot of content, collaborating with influencers. So we've been gathering a lot more of those segments as well, but they're spending a lot less. And so I think the last time actually was around $18 to like $25 per basket. Yeah. Oh, and our customers are mainly from Indonesia.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Well, I know that we all right now know that you're serving mostly women, 99%, 100%. But as far as I know, and as far as Leisha knows, because she's a stylist for men actually need these styling services as well. Did you plan to actually look into this market? Do you see that there are some opportunities because the younger generation of men, especially with the growing influence of social media, TikTok, they're all looking into styling and looking good and looking sustainable as well. So maybe you can touch more on that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I plan to launch our styling service for men on 2020, but when COVID happened, I just kind of like, whatever. It's like, let's push it later. So yeah, because obviously I made this company to solve a problem, which was mine. I have no fashion sense, if I have to be honest. So having a stylist to help me find the right products would be like the ideal scenario, but again, it's circumstances, right? So I kind of have to juggle with it. But yeah, I mean, even when we are going to build a styling service for men, it's going to be completely different from what women need. You know, a men, even men themselves there are two types, right? There are those that are more aware of their appearances, and they really actually want to look good, and that's a bit more similar to the majority of the persona of women as well. You know, but on the other side, there of course there's also this persona in female as well, but there are also a bigger chunk of the male demography which are only looking for practicality and just convenience. You know, I know what I want. I like black t-shirt or a denim that just send me the same thing every quarter, and I'll be happy with it. You know, and we've been doing a lot of survey and research on this. So we just need to kind of like find which one we want to kind of like focus on in the beginning. Yeah.
Are you trying to? Are you going to implement e-fitting? Because as we discussed earlier, it's especially for Asia, it's a super sustainable way of trying on before buying things. And I think that's what's your outlook on that? Do you plan to introduce it for your audience? And yeah, so another question that we'll ask later.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, e-fitting is something that I've looked into since 2018, actually, something that has always been one of my main interests. It's just that when we take a look at all the solutions on the market, unfortunately, a lot of the solutions are more suitable to the Western market, you know, where the bone structure is a bit different compared to the Asian market. So I think I don't think there's any specific company who are focusing on the data sets from the Asian body type and body sizing as well. I mean, if you take a look at the data that has been sort of like released in the market as well, you can actually take a look at like different waistline, different arm length and all that for between the Western population compared to the Asian population. So definitely e-fitting is something that I want to touch base on, but not as a huge priority. I feel like e-fitting would be such a great like feature or function that we could implement to have then like an O2O kind of experiential kind of a thing, you know, like within a retail space in context and in connection with their online presence as well. So I have some concept that I want to kind of like implement that in the future, but once things have been like settled down, maybe, yeah.
I have one question that is very close to my heart and my origin. I'm coming from a Muslim family, and I'm actually not really Russian. I'm Asian Russian. Because you are an Asian brand based in Indonesia, and I can see that your look and feel, you don't really look Muslim. And there's I can see that the fashion solutions that you offer on your website, they're not really Muslim, and you have not so many options for the ladies who are in that category. What's your take on that? And do you have any specific offers for women of other religions, for example, Muslim? Because it's Indonesia is the biggest Muslim country basically in the world. So I don't see that. It looks more Western right now.
Yep. Why? Yep. Good question. Yeah, we actually serve a lot of Muslim, actually majority of about 42% of our customers are hijab wearers. So again, because the whole customer's journey is very different on our platform compared to other e-commerces. When you go and register in our platform, we actually ask you a bunch of questions with regard to your fitting, your sizing, and so forth. It takes quite a bit of effort to actually do the whole registration process. And we actually ask them if they are if they wear hijab as well, right? Once we understand that, then the majority of our recommendation would be suitable only for hijab communities. So one of the biggest thing that we did last year, we did this machine learning recommendation where we now have about, I think it was 42 different persona cluster now within our system. And within the 42 persona cluster, I think it was about 18 of them are based on hijab persona, which is going to be based on the color preferences, based on their sizing preferences, based on their other personalities that we actually discover from them. And again, if the moment we know that you are a hijab, and we're going to be very respectful, we won't be sending you something like a tank top for you to buy. But no, in regards to the marketing communication side of things, we try to be a bit more neutral. We're not trying to kind of like side into one or another. But if you go into our Instagram or our journal, you'll be able to find a lot of content that are very hijab or Muslim friendly. We even have some contents about how you can actually tie your hijab properly in so many different ways. So yeah, so I think that's my point of view.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, me and Leisha, we study and talk a lot about how women transform the economy around the world, and how they affect the transformation of the economy at the moment, right? And we discovered that there are so many brands that are founded or managed by men, and they introduce new products on the market, for example, wearables like Nike or Fitbit, and they would introduce these products without consideration of women. For example, these wearables that that they track your health and wellness, they wouldn't track your cycle, and but most of the consumers of these products are women. So for you, being a founder of a company focusing on women, and who are actually very demanding, especially here in Indonesia, how do you keep up with what they want and what they need? Is it artificial intelligence that you're using technology, or you doing research, or you going into the fields and you're talking to women, you actually finding out about them because you're interested, or it's just all technology?
Right. Okay, that's a great question. Initially, it started as an opportunistic kind of point of view. When we started this business, obviously we have to choose between men and women. Women have bigger spending power for fashion, one, and second, women are more open to trying new things, on trying new platforms compared to men. Men are just, very skeptical about things. That again, initially it was a very opportunistic kind of point of view, but as I started doing the business, I found how difficult it is, and I started learning a lot more from just talking to the customers directly. Even within our 58,000 female members now, we kept like a close-knit group of around 200 customers. We call them the Yuna Babes. And they basically talk to us constantly. We push content, we push promotionals to them, and in return, they give us a whole bunch of information about what they need, what they're wearing, what kind of movies that they're watching right now, what kind of serials that they're catching on right now. So we actually learn from talking to the customers. Of course, we have our data, we have our artificial intelligence to basically give recommendations, but that's no matter what, we still need to have those human connections, just to get all this information, keep going. And what's funny, I think I was talking to the CEO of Efitting, which is a styling company from I think they're based in Germany, right? So I was talking to Julia, And Julia is doing styling only for men in Germany, and I'm doing only for females. So I think in contrast, maybe it's because we are the opposite gender that we can actually try to kind of like see things in a very more objective, instead of subjective, what I want or what I need, but exactly what I think this is what they need, so it's, yeah.
Well, that's a great answer. Well, you know that Leisha is a style consultant for men. So if you need any insights for your platform to introduce your services to men, you know who to ask. Thank you so much. This is really amazing. We're very happy that we have men here presenting, because this is really, predominantly female-led industry, but we have men, and we're super excited that you're with us, and we're looking forward to meet you in person sometime in Bali.
Yeah, awesome. Looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.